If a single harsh comment can live rent-free in your head all day, while 10 compliments quietly pack their bags and leave, something strange is happening inside your mind. If silence from someone you love somehow feels louder than a room full of people, or if one bad news headline convinces you humanity is doomed before you've even finished your morning coffee, you're not losing your mind. Your brain may simply be ancient, very ancient. In fact, almost everything that stresses you today can be traced back to a world that disappeared thousands of years ago, long before cities, salaries, traffic jams, smartphones, or the unique emotional experience of replying thanks to an email that probably didn't need a reply. The human brain had one job: stay alive until tomorrow. That was it. Not happiness, not confidence, not work-life balance, just survival. And to achieve that, evolution slowly built a handful of incredibly powerful survival instincts. Notice danger. Protect what you already have. Stay close to your tribe. Know where you stand inside the group. Chase anything that improves your chances of survival. Predict what might happen next. Avoid anything that could make you sick. Those instincts worked brilliantly for a world filled with predators, uncertainty, and very little food. The problem is, they're still running today. Only now, instead of protecting you from hungry lions, they're protecting you from unanswered text messages, awkward meetings, Instagram, and emails that begin with, "Can we talk?" Not exactly the same level of emergency. Your brain, unfortunately, didn't get that memo. Now, neuroscientists don't literally describe the mind as 7 neat little apps running inside your skull. If they did, at least one of them would probably crash every Monday morning. But thinking of the brain this way reveals something incredibly useful. Much of what we call stress, overthinking, jealousy, cravings, or anxiety isn't random at all. It's often the result of ancient survival programs doing exactly what they evolved to do, just in a world they were never designed for. And once you recognize those programs, you begin seeing them everywhere. The first one has probably interrupted your life today already. In fact, Batradi, it's probably the reason you clicked on this video. The first survival program is your brain's threat detector. Imagine you're walking through a forest 50,000 years ago. The trees are quiet. The air is still. Then, something rustles in the bushes. Now you have two choices. You can think, it's probably just the wind. Or, you can assume something with very sharp teeth has just noticed you. Here's the thing. If you panic, and it turns out to be a rabbit, you've wasted a few seconds and maybe bruised your ego. If you stay calm, and it turns out to be a tiger, well, that mistake is much harder to learn from. Evolution quickly realized that false alarms were cheaper than missed dangers. So over thousands of generations, the human brain became exceptionally good at spotting threats. Deep inside your brain, structures like the amygdala help scan for danger and prepare your body to react long before your logical mind has caught up. It was an incredible survival system. It still is. The only problem is, the tiger has changed. Today, your brain isn't usually reacting to predators hiding behind bushes. It's reacting to a strange medical report, a late-night phone call, an unanswered text from your child, or an email from your manager that simply says, "Can we talk tomorrow?" 5 innocent words, and suddenly you've imagined losing your job, selling your furniture, moving into the wilderness, and somehow becoming emotionally attached to a squirrel. Nothing has actually happened, but your body is already preparing for survival. Your heart beats faster, your muscles tense, your imagination starts writing disaster scenarios faster than Hollywood writes superhero sequels. None of this means you're weak. It simply means your brain would rather scare you unnecessarily than fail to warn you once. And honestly, from an evolutionary perspective, that's not a terrible strategy. But surviving wasn't just about avoiding danger. Sometimes the greatest threat wasn't what was chasing you. It was what you stood to lose. This brings us to your brain's second survival program, loss protection. Psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky discovered something that almost everyone recognizes the moment they hear it. Losing something hurts far more than gaining the exact same thing feels good. Find 1,000 rupees in your jacket pocket? That's a pleasant surprise. Lose 1,000 rupees on the way home? Congratulations. You've just unlocked a full evening of becoming a forensic accountant. You'll retrace every step, check every pocket, question every life decision, and somehow convince yourself that if you'd taken the other staircase, everything would be different. It sounds irrational. But thousands of years ago, it wasn't. For our ancestors, losing food, shelter, tools, or trusted allies could have serious consequences. Missing an opportunity was disappointing. Losing something you already depended on could be catastrophic. So evolution gave losses a much louder voice than gains. That's why one harsh criticism can erase 5 genuine compliments. why losing money hurts more than earning the same amount feels good, and why so many people stay in careers, friendships, or relationships that no longer make them happy. Because somewhere deep inside, your brain keeps asking the same ancient question: what if leaving costs us something we can't get back? It's remarkable, really. Your brain spends so much energy protecting what you already have that it sometimes forgets to notice what could make life better. But even avoiding danger and protecting your resources wasn't enough to guarantee survival. Because there was one thing our ancestors needed even more than food: other people. And that's where the next survival program becomes surprisingly powerful. For most of human history, surviving wasn't a solo achievement. It was a group project. Your ancestors lived in small bands where everyone depended on everyone else. They hunted together, shared food, protected one another, and slept a little easier knowing someone else was awake listening for the things with very large teeth. Being part of the tribe wasn't just comforting, it was life insurance. Being cast out wasn't simply embarrassing. It could mean facing the wilderness alone with no food, no protection, and very few chances of seeing another birthday. That's why your brain developed another survival program: belonging. And thousands of years later, it's still running. That's why it stings when nobody calls you back. Why being ignored in a conversation can quietly ruin your mood. Why one cold comment from someone you care about somehow echoes louder than 10 kind words from everyone else. Your logical brain might know it isn't a big deal. Your ancient brain strongly disagrees. In fact, studies have shown that social rejection activates some of the same brain networks involved in physical pain. Which means evolution looked at heartbreak and thought, let's make this hurt too, just to be safe. A little dramatic? Absolutely. Effective? Apparently, because if rejection felt painful enough, our ancestors were more likely to repair relationships and stay connected to the group. Your brain still treats belonging as a survival need. Even if the tribe today is a family WhatsApp group that hasn't replied in 6 hours. But surviving inside the tribe wasn't enough. There was another question your brain quietly obsessed over. Where do I fit? That's where the next survival program begins: status scanning. Human beings are wonderfully social, but we're also spectacularly good at comparing ourselves with everyone around us. Psychologist Leon Festinger called this social comparison theory. Long before performance reviews, follower counts, or LinkedIn updates, our ancestors were constantly reading the social room. Who was respected? Who had influence? Who could be trusted? Who was slowly becoming the person everyone listened to around the campfire? Because your position within the group often affected access to food, allies, opportunities, and even potential mates, status wasn't about having the biggest cave, it was about having the safest future. Fast forward a few thousand years, and the same ancient software is now trying to process social media, which is a little like asking a goldfish to understand cryptocurrency. Someone your age buys a new house. Another friend gets promoted. An old classmate somehow appears to be running 3 successful businesses while traveling the world and looking suspiciously well-rested. Suddenly, your perfectly normal Tuesday feels like you've missed a meeting where everyone else received instructions on how to become successful. The strange part is, you don't consciously choose to compare yourself. Your brain does it automatically. Not because you're shallow, not because you're insecure. Because an ancient survival program is still quietly asking, where do I stand? And does that affect my future? The problem is, your ancestors compared themselves with maybe 50 people. Your brain now compares itself with 5 million before breakfast. No wonder it gets overwhelmed. But perhaps the cleverest survival program of them all is also the one modern companies have become exceptionally good at exploiting: reward pursuit. Most people have heard that dopamine is the brain's pleasure chemical. That's only half the story. Researchers like Kent Berridge and Terry Robinson found that dopamine has much more to do with wanting than enjoying. It doesn't simply reward you after something good happens. It nudges you toward things that might be rewarding. Thousands of years ago, that was incredibly useful. It pushed our ancestors toward food, shelter, exploration, relationships, and opportunities that increased their chances of survival. The problem is, your brain evolved for a world where rewards were rare. Today's world is the exact opposite. Unlimited snacks, unlimited videos, unlimited scrolling, unlimited notifications, an endless buffet of tiny rewards, all competing for your attention. Imagine handing a hunter-gatherer an object that could produce new entertainment every time he touched it. He probably wouldn't invent civilization. He'd still be scrolling. Your smartphone isn't just competing for your attention. It's competing against millions of years of evolution. Which explains why just 5 minutes somehow turns into 45. Your brain keeps whispering, maybe one more. Maybe the next video. Maybe the next notification. And modern technology smiles politely and says, excellent idea. But beneath every craving, beneath every habit, and beneath almost every anxious thought, there's another survival program quietly working in the background. One that's trying to answer a question your brain has never stopped asking. What happens next?